in progress. I've done so many of these that typically remember hearing them all. But I'll start sharing my screen as well for my presentation. You should all be able to see the slides. Awesome. So this is, I can't really believe it. The year has kind of flown by. I can't believe we're already halfway through April. We have senior celebration in 2 weeks where we announce where the seniors are going to school, scholarships that they've earned, and our last freshman mentor Zoom. It's been a little bit of a whirlwind this year, but I think our team has been staying pretty well on top of everything. As always, we're gonna be covering different things. I'll also record everything in case you need it. If you have any questions, feel free to unmute yourself, drop it in the chat. If you have any technical issues, you can send me a text. I have my phone right here in front of me. Um, but kind of, if you haven't been on a call before, I think everyone has before. But I always do the presentation, QA, restroom, and water break, and then the breakout rooms with your mentee. Today, I'm going to cover a few different things, including dual enrollment reflections and things that just haven't been discussed before, and then a potential gathering that is an option. Like I said, I have a wonderful team, so every Zoom call, I want to shout them out. Anita, Esmeralda, Islam, they're the ones who are with the students on a daily basis. I'm always in meetings or with mentors, or I will jump in when I can, but I always want to shout them out because they do such a wonderful job. Um, Islam has been working with the freshmen pretty closely. She checks their grades pretty much every other week. She logs into their accounts, makes sure that they're doing their assignments. If they're not doing their assignments, they get a text from Islam saying, "Hey, what's going on here? What are you missing? What are you struggling with? How can we help?" And most of the times, the kids are like, "Oh, I kind of forgot about it," or "I've been putting it off." And she's like, "Hey, you need to get it done, submit it, do all that work." So it sets a very good foundation for them in terms of turning in their grades, turning in their assignments. While some teachers may be saying, hey, you have until the end of the quarter, we try not to get them into the habit because we want them to be ready for college. Um, with speaking of that, a lot of the students know whether what their class schedule will be like for next year. Some still don't. Again, our high school is the biggest in the county with a little over 2,000 students. So if your student doesn't have their schedule yet, that's completely okay. Everything doesn't really get finalized, and I'm sorry to say this, but it doesn't get finalized until almost the day before school starts. And to me, it's insane, but it's also, I can understand it. There's more than 2,000 students. Each one needs 7 classes. Students are moving, re-registering, unregistering. It's a whole mess of things. So I completely understand it. But feel free to ask your students, are they registered for any dual enrollment courses next year? For FSW, they will know by this point whether or not they're going to be eligible for those courses because they have to take a test, meet with a counselor from FSW, and then they can be registered for that class. If they haven't done all of that already, then that means most likely they're not going to take an FSW course. If they are, if they share with you that yes, they will have that course, ask them if they're prepared for it, if they're ready for it, if they're ready to no longer procrastinate. Because once a college professor is deadline passes and they haven't turned it in, they don't have till the end of the semester. Unfortunately, they're going to get a zero. On our end, we collect schedules pretty early. We'll try collecting them already, but in some cases, if they're not available, we do a big collection over summer. And what we do on our end is we monitor what they're registered for. So if we feel a student has too much on their load, for example, if for some reason a counselor has signed a sophomore up for 2 college classes, as well as a few AP and ACE courses, and only has one elective, we may coach that student individually and say, hey, this may be too much for you. Do you think you're going to be able to handle it? And with their past history, we kind of review where they're at. Um, Unfortunately, because the high school counselors have so much on their plate, sometimes things slip by. Last year, well, I shouldn't say last year, it was at the beginning of this school year, we had a student registered for 6 college courses full time as a junior in high school. And so we said, hey, let's recheck this. So they were able to submit those emails, get it more manageable, and they're able to still do their activities in clubs rather than putting their only focus on school, which is not necessarily a requirement for all, but we want them all to have great grades. And then we want them to be able to participate in the things outside of school and work. We don't want them to feel overwhelmed and exhausted all the time. What a lot of the freshmen are going to want to do next year as sophomores is actually iTech courses. The Immokalee Technical College is right across the street from the high school. And for if they have the availability to schedule it in their schedules, they need to have 2 elective periods. They can actually go across the street, take a class at the iTech throughout the year, and receive certifications by the time they're seniors. So if they start taking education courses, by the time they'll graduate, they'll actually be a certified educator for early learning centers. If they take I believe it's the Photoshop and multimedia course, they'll actually be able to have a certification that will lead them into being a graphic designer. There's a nursing course that they could potentially become a licensed practicing nurse by the time they graduate, so they're able to go into the workforce right away. Not every student's going to take those, but if that's something they're interested in, that's a good way for them to get their foot in the door. And it's also really great because the high school pays for it, not the student. So any course with FSW, any course with the Immokalee Technical College, the high school has to pay for the course and any supplies that are needed for the course. So that's what's really great about those options. And because they're taking it here in Immokalee, it's also getting them a little more comfortable with just being in that area. Um, my next slide. So at this point in the year, I do like to tell mentors to sit down with their mentee and have a yearly reflection. Too often, the students will immediately end the school year and then go blank until the school year begins again. And that's normal, it happens. But what I would recommend for every mentor is to talk to their student about how things went this year. And what I would also encourage you to do is actually write down some notes. If you have a notepad where you keep all your notes about your student or a journal or a folder or whatever it may be, so that when the school year starts again, you can bring up these topics and say, hey, this is kind of what you mentioned last year. Are you ready for this? Is there any changes you'd like to request? The reason being because academically, a lot of the students unfortunately don't know that they can actually change their courses. They think, oh, that's kind of what I'm stuck with. There's not really any options. But when they put themselves out there and advocate, it's the availability of the counselors to say, hey, you know what? The student really wants this. We can make it happen. The other thing is, if a student, say, had a bad end of year, say they struggled on end of year math test, end of year reading test, and they didn't perform to their normal capability, sometimes with those tests, that will automatically place them in their course for next year. Say it's advanced English, it's AP English, honors English, intermediate English, intensive English, whatever it may be. Maybe they just had a bad day on that test day. What can actually happen is they can go to their counselor and make the appeal. If the counselor doesn't approve it, they can bring in the parent, they can bring in us to kind of advocate for them and say, hey, this is what they've done in the past. They can handle it, they can do it. This was just a one-off bad day that they had, and they'll actually switch them from the course. We've helped a lot of parents do that because it is something that happens. I'm not going to say a lot, like it's a majority of our students, but it's happened more often than we can count. Work site, if your student feels that maybe somewhere else would be a better work site for them, a better elementary school, they can actually request that. What's also interesting is that if some students move, they won't tell us. So if they say their parents maybe purchased a home or they're renting a different apartment, if they're somewhere else, for some reason, they like to blank. Typically, what we'll try to follow is almost upgrading the students in their same school to next year. If a student does tell us that they moved or they're in a different area of living or their family situation is different now, or maybe one of their siblings got moved to a different school, we'll always try to accommodate that to help the parents and families out. What we do tell them though is not everyone is guaranteed their number one choice or their number one desire because each one of our sites has different numbers. And of course, everyone wants to go to one school over another because of location or anything like that. But that is something that we do help with. So if your student has any comments about their work site or their location or even the grade that they're working with, say they don't like kindergartners, they prefer second graders, that's okay too. If they feel second graders are too old, maybe they want to work with kindergartners. That's a request that they're allowed to make, and it's actually something very helpful. Um, sorry, let me just see what's right here. And then so I'd also encourage you to talk to them about home life. Nothing too deep or too personal, but also just how is the family adjusting to them being at the high school, working a job, then coming home, or if they don't go home after their job, going to a club and then going home and doing homework or chores. How is the family adjusting to it? Are the siblings taking on a little bit more? Is the family struggling a little bit because they don't have that student there anymore to rely on? Um, it's really something individual for each one. So that's why I recommend, having your student reflect on that so that they can make themselves notes for next year. And if you make those notes, bringing that up in the fall really kind of shows them how much you care about their progress and what they do. And then, of course, one of the biggest influences is friends. We always say that as teenagers, the friends sometimes are not the best. Sometimes they're wonderful. I'm not gonna say which or which. Um, but if they have the right kind of friends around them, then that really kind of motivates them and wants them to do even more. If say their friend is doing all these advanced classes, then all of a sudden, you know what? I want to do those advanced classes. Or hey, they're gonna try out for this club. Hey, I'm gonna go try out this club with them. Um, with clubs and sports, how much did they take on? Could they handle it? Was it too much? Was it too little? Can they become a leader? It's really up to each one what they think they can handle. We don't push students to do everything that's out there. We push them to find what works for them and really take advantage of it and try to be leaders. Um, if say they tried 5 or 6 clubs this year and they realized, hey, maybe that one's not for me, it's okay to drop it. And maybe they can try to be a captain in another one, the president, the treasurer, whatever it may be. So that self-reflection really, really helps. Um, oops,
Hey, Daniel, quick question on that. Is
go
there a
ahead, Chuck.
thing like at the school website or something of all the clubs and sports, I guess, but mainly clubs?
I don't have one, but I can ask.
Okay, thank you.
There's a lot. I will say that.
Daniel, on that same subject, I'd be interested to see that. My mentee just she doesn't have time for any kind of club or sports.
Yeah. And some students will feel like that. Maybe they feel the classes are taking a lot of their time. And then, it really, if they're saying that now as freshmen, they may have a hard time next year as sophomores because the classes will get harder and then they continue to do so every year. So I will keep an eye on that too.
Okay, thank you.
And so I'll try to find a list of clubs and sports. I will say though, at the beginning of every year, the school has what's known as Club Rush, where every single club, organization, nonprofit in the area comes out and hosts a table. I think this last year I saw like 30, maybe 35 tables. So there's quite a few, but I'll try to get a list going. Um, Summer. This is kind of I don't want to say hardest time of the year with our students. It's more they're on summer vacation. So they really don't think about anything other than maybe sleeping, eating, and hanging out with their friends. It's normal. It's what happens. What I will say, you can ask your student what their plans are for the summer because it really depends on the student themselves. They may be working or volunteering in our summer program. This year, we're hosting it for 6 weeks at Lake Trafford Elementary. We start the week after school ends. We immediately start. Some of your students may be working there. They may be volunteering there to make up for their scholarship hours. But if they're in that summer program, it's very similar to our after school program, but there's a lot more fun involved. We'll bring out activities, partner organizations, we'll play games, they'll host parties, they'll do water days. It's kind of like a summer camp where half the day is educational and half the day is fun. It's a really great summer program. When I was a high school tutor, I really enjoyed being a part of it every summer. And then we hire 15 college tutors who have graduated from our program to come back and work. Unfortunately, because our population is the way it is, we only end up taking about 19 high school tutors to work in it. Out of the 125 that we have, because our budget is restricted, we can only hire 19. We serve, compared to during the school year, we serve about 800 elementary students. During the summer program, we serve 300. but we're only at one school and we have 15 classrooms. And since there's no activities, those students are expected to go to work every day, all day. It is a nice pay for them. All the students who are working summer program have been notified. I believe it was at the end of last week, they got a letter. But they will be there all day, every day for 6 weeks. When you ask your students about their plans, some of them may say that they're migrating up north for the summer. So what I find really cool about the population of Immokalee nowadays is back then, as a migrant student, they would leave in probably March and not come back till October. And it could have been very possible for a student to start the school year in the middle in Immokalee, and end at another. And so during one school year, they had 3 different schools, which is really, really difficult. What we see now, which I find really cool, is that the parents are willing to make some sacrifices so that the students can be at one school all year long. That is wonderful beyond means. I'm sure all of you know. But if your student's migrating, ask them where they're going. Ask them what their parents are following. Ask them when they're coming back. We do have one student who still unfortunately has to follow that schedule. But because they are who they are, they also take classes online so they can stay with Immokalee High year round. But ask them when they're leaving, ask them when they're coming back. If they're not migrant, maybe they're taking a vacation with their family. A lot of the parents may use this time to go visit the family that is left behind in Mexico. It really depends on the family situation as well. One thing I always say is never ask a student or the student's parents what their document status is. So if they say they're going to Mexico, don't say, oh, how are they going to handle it with the papers or documentation or anything? Because it may come across the wrong way. Just say, oh, that could be nice. What are you guys going to do? For the parents, I don't know if any of you guys are on social media, but there's a lot of videos nowadays of parents finally reuniting with their parents. And it always brings tears to my eyes because they say they haven't seen them in like 15, 20 years because they came here to work and they haven't seen them since. But it's a really great thing to see. But that some other parents have the option to go back. Other students, because we do have second and third generations down here in Immokalee, may be traveling for the summer. They may go somewhere for a little week or two vacation. We really have all kinds of populations here in Immokalee now. My my heads up to mentors at the beginning of or I should say at the end of the school year, beginning of the summer, is because students are so forgetful and they're on vacation, they do forget to message back. They won't respond to emails or texts just because they're on vacation. They sometimes think, oh, well, I don't need to check my email. There's no school. I don't got to do anything. We are actually on them a lot. We're calling them, emailing them, texting them. We also, if we don't hear back from a student and we need an answer, we call their parents. Sometimes it just is that way. So if you have trouble getting a hold of your student and need some assistance, let us know. I'm more than happy to call up a student. We try to do semi-regular check-ins with them just to see how the summer's going, if they're ready for the beginning of the school year. So we can easily add in, like, say, hey, your mentor hasn't heard from you. Have you been responding to them? And then, the student usually says, oh, no, I'm so sorry, I forgot. I'll send something right now. So we'll work with them on that. But it happens every single grade, every single summer. So I always make sure to include the slide at the end of the school year. So I am currently in the process of putting together, oop, that did not edit correctly. I'm so sorry. I am currently in the process of putting together our dates for next year. I'm hoping to get it out in June of when our mentor dinners will be, our picnics and our culture events. I'm hoping that I'll get those all out to everyone before the end of June so you can add them to your calendar. So be on the lookout for it. What I do on my end is we send it through our database. That one may go to your spam. I'm also on my end going to resend it out through my work email so that it doesn't come from the database, it comes from my email. And that way you can still have the dates and information. But I'm going to try to get everything put together. Oops. My slide didn't edit. One of the things you will be receiving soon is an email from me. I'm actually putting together a brainstorming idea that I had a few weeks ago. But I want to hear your feedback from the mentor Zooms. How did you find them? Is there a different time of day that works for you? I'm actually thinking about structuring it a little bit differently to allow mentors and mentees to meet more often with their student. But I'll send it out in a survey to your email so that I can hear back from everyone. Um, if you're meeting with your mentee in the summer, that's awesome if you're still in the area. If not, Zoom and FaceTime are always an option. If you need any assistance with outings or anything like that, let me know and I'd be happy to help. Ellen Resnick wants to put together a decoupage event. I believe I pronounced it correctly. With the students. If you're in the Esplanade area or if you're anywhere near there, in Naples on the corner of Collier and Immokalee Road, decoupage is where they glue decorative napkins onto oyster shells. I put a photo on there. Right now, I do have 6 students who are interested in attending that event. It's on Saturday, May 3rd in the morning. But we do need to have at least 10 students to be able to take the van and drive the students out. We do already have a staff member available to drive it out if we get enough interest. But if you are interested in it, please send me an email and then I can put it on my list of students and mentors interested. I would encourage you to talk to your mentee just because sometimes schedule conflicts, it's okay. Sometimes the mentee may already know that they're actually not going to be in town that weekend or they're not going to be able to attend. That's okay too. It happens. And if we're not able to host the event, maybe we'll host it again next year, or host it next year so that people can attend.
Daniel, are
Yes.
you able to tell us which 6 are interested, or should we just ask our mentee?
I would ask your mentee because I don't have it right in front of me at this
Okay,
moment.
thanks.
Oh, so Sweet Charity, thank you to everyone who attended. I heard it was a great day. I'm sorry I wasn't able to make it. I had a family situation I had to take care of. But I hope your students enjoyed it or you enjoyed it. I heard the food was really good. So I know that's the most important part for students usually. But we'll always try to expose the students to something new, something different. We're in the process of scheduling those now. If you have anything in mind actually, and you want to share with me, feel free to send it. I look at every possible kind of event, see if they can handle a group of our size, the timing, the arrangements, the pricing and everything. So if you have something in mind, feel free to send it over. We've done hockey games, baseball games, softball, plays, botanical gardens. We've done a lot of different things. So we're always open to more. These are the other Saturdays available at our Dempsey Lab where you can come and meet your mentee in person. If you'd like to use the space, you're more than welcome to join us. Just send me an email and that way I can reserve one of the lounges for you. If you know you're going to be in town and want to come out, we're more than happy to have you. And a staff member will be here each one of those dates, so you don't have to worry about bringing someone else with you or your mentee bringing someone else. And at this time, I will stop sharing my screen. Are there any questions? Go ahead, Joanne.
Sorry, okay, so my mentee and one of her best friends want to come to the beach with us over the summer. So we're gonna be away for May, so I'd like to do it in June. So first of all, we know I need to get permission from the parents to make sure that it's okay. And obviously let you be aware of it. And then I don't know, because then we have to make arrangements to go out to Immokalee, pick them up, take them into the beach here and take them back. So it's just a matter of coordinating that. But we're looking at doing it for a one-day event for them. But they're certainly, they are very inventive, these girls. They're very sweet, and they've come up with this idea on their own, and they have not forgotten it. They're still pushing it. So it's quite funny. But I want to make sure that we're doing things by the book because I have no problem hosting them, taking them to our beach club, doing all that sort of stuff. But I want to make sure that I'm not, that everybody is, that we've crossed all the lines and T's and dotted everything, whatever we had to do to make sure that it was okay and appropriate.
Yeah. Everything you listed off sounds good to me so far. If you're ever hesitant or anything, feel free to send me a text or give me a call. I'm more than happy to answer any questions.
All right. Susan,
Yep.
anything you want to add or?
I can't.
Whoops.
Oh, Susan, you muted yourself.
You did.
Muted. Yeah.
You're muted. You can't.
Unmute yourself, Susan. Susan,
Here, I just sent you a notice. There you go.
there you
But I lost the video.
go. There, will we see you?
Okay, well, I don't see you, but I'm here. No, 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 I didn't. Do we have to ask you before we take our kids somewhere, Daniel?
Typically, no, as long as
I didn't
there are
think
more
so.
than one student and more than one adult, you're good. And well,
Okay.
also as long as you have permission from the parents. But
Okay.
typically,
Got it. Oh,
usually always
for
do so.
sure, for
Oh,
sure.
excellent. I understood it had to be cleared that Guadalupe had to agree to it and all that stuff, but that's good. Then we've got.
Yeah, we'll just work it out together, Joanne.
We will, Susan, yeah.
How do
Oh
you
my
do
goodness.
permission from the parents?
Ask them.
So, if in the event that your parent does not speak English, let one of us know. We can call them and translate it, give them the details. While the students sometimes say that they let their parents know, usually they don't let them know till the day before. That happens, and then the parent feels, oh, well, they already arranged all this. Yeah, of course you can go. But if you're ever hesitant about that, feel free to give us a call. If anything, you can also ask your student for their parents' phone number and give them a call yourself, because I do know some of the parents do speak English, and that's more than okay. I think that relationship building is very positive, and it helps improve the mentor-mentee relationship as well.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Oh, I
Mhm.
was thinking another event, type of event could be some kind of a concert. I don't know if you ever do any concerts.
I think one time a piano series was recommended. Trouble with piano is there's no words, and the students
Didn't like
are
it.
students. They're
bored.
teenagers. Yeah. So we always try to find stuff that'll match both, but I do always try to find anything that might work.
What about a soccer game? They've got that Paradise.
Oh, yeah.
Soccer
Yes,
venue.
our Naples team put in a request for their dates for next season so that we could potentially attend one. So we put that request in. So just so everyone's aware of the few requests we have in, Gulf Shore Playhouse just sent us their schedule for next year, as well as Barbara B. Mann. We're waiting to hear back from artists. We've reached out to FSW for their basketball and volleyball schedules. For FGCU, we've reached out to them about basketball, baseball, softball, volleyball, and soccer. And then we put in a request for Botanical Gardens to see what their events are for next year. And then for Ave Maria has a football team for their college team. I've never been to one personally, but I think it could potentially be a lot of fun. And then I believe they have a good amount of sports teams as well. So we put in a request for those schedules as well. Then the next tricky part is just playing with the dates to see
Yeah.
how we could spread them out accordingly. And so we always try to do that. Oh, and then the always super popular one is hockey. The students going into it are like, oh, what do I have to do seeing hockey, or why am I going? And we say, well, it's a cultural event. You'll get to see something new. And then the hockey players start fighting, and then they're all like, this is the best event ever. I never want to leave. They got to see, I think, 5, possibly 6 fights this last game. So everyone left they all left the stadium saying, this is the best sport. I want to come back again next year. It was a lot of fun. So that one's always a fan favorite. So we're waiting on that schedule as well.
There is one of the plays that is coming to Artist Naples this season is called And Juliet. And I don't recall if there's an intermission. I think there is an intermission, but it's basically about, it's Shakespeare, but it's not Shakespeare. And it's set to the music of Katy Perry. The guy who was one of the writers for Schitt's Creek wrote it. So it's very funny. It's really witty, and it's very current music. So it's set to very popular pop songs. So the kids would probably all know it. So if that should become available through Artist Naples, it would be.
Cool.
Good.
I'll
What's
look
the
into
name of
that.
that?
Pardon me, it's called And Juliet.
N?
And
A-N-D and Juliet.
Oh, and Juliet. Okay.
And so, no, it's like the and sign. And it's essentially the story of Romeo and Juliet. But what happened, so Shakespeare and his wife Anne have an argument, and basically what would happen if Juliet if Juliet didn't die.
Right. It's her afterlife continuing without Romeo.
Yes. Ken
Oh.
also managed to revive his story as well, but it's a very charming, it's educational, but it's very charming and fun. Yeah.
That sounds really cool. A few
Does.
years ago, we did a student-run production at Ave Maria. I forgot what the name of the play was, but they did a lot of current references, and the students absolutely loved it. At one moment, there was a pregnant Beyonce, and they all lost their minds. So when they incorporate current things, I think that's always a lot of fun. Any other questions? Any other concerns? for me
Daniel.
Or for your fellow mentors? Go ahead,
Yeah.
Sam.
I'm sorry I came on late and I missed the presentation that covered dual enrollment. Can you explain to me what that is?
Yeah, so dual enrollment is when a student takes classes when they're at Immokalee High School. They can also be taking classes with Florida Southwestern State College or Immokalee Technical College. So if your student has taken the test and proper steps, they already know that by this point, if they're eligible to take courses with FSW. They won't know yet with iTech until right before school starts because of just schedule adjustments and everything. But iTech is also a dual enrollment program where they can be certified by the time they're seniors in either nursing, accounting, digital media. I know they also have a mechanical program, and they have a early education program. So they could potentially get certified as a licensed practical nurse, an early childhood teacher, a few certifications to get into the career of graphic design. That is one of the options available for them, but they do have to have 2 electives available in their schedule to be able to be a part of that course.
Hey, Daniel, have the students, or has there been a notification yet on the STEM program?
From FGCU, from what I know, not yet.
Okay, I was wondering because Alicio hasn't said anything, and I know he's quite keen about that, and so I just wanted to, before I chatted to him today, I wanted to know if, in general, those notifications had gone out.
Yeah. From what I know, they have not gone out yet. They typically go out at the end of April.
All
They'll
right.
start arranging the overnight stays and everything for those students.
Great, they're terrific programs.
Daniel,
Susan?
of anything in the area in culinary arts? Aniele is really interested in being a baker and opening her own store someday. And I gave her some references to cake baking and the different decorations you can do. But is there anything that I was thinking at iTech? There's nothing with
Yes,
cooking.
that is the one. Sorry, I forgot that one. There is a culinary program at iTech. Let me actually put together a list of the iTech programs available, and I'll
Oh,
send that
great.
included in my email. But they do get the OSHA certification, the Safe Serve certification, so that they can be in a kitchen, and then the chef actually has them work. There's a small restaurant in the technical college known as the iTech Cafe, where they prepare and sell meals. It's actually quite decent and it's very cheap because it's run by students. I enjoy going there every now and then. But they'll prepare the food, either cook it, prepare it, they'll get things ready for the next day, they'll clean up, but they get certified in everything so that they could be eligible to work in a restaurant and a bakery after they graduate.
I'd appreciate that list. That'd be good.
Mhm.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
I put that together and I'll send it out to everyone. Right. Anything else? All right, I will hit recording. So you will hear recording stopped.